wakeupcall.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you're listening, you're watching on Facebook Live on facebook.com/livenowdt, and always appreciate having you here, hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studio. So however you're connecting with us this morning, thank you so much for tuning in to the show. We appreciate you and thank you, and I hope you're having a great week and staying safe and staying well and really giving it all you got, because that's what it's all about, right? It's about giving it all we got every time we give that, every time we wake up in the morning. That's what you got to do. You can't give it all you got sometimes. You can't give it all you got, on weekends. You got to give it all you got all the time. So I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're staying safe and making the most out of the time that we have in this wonderful world that we get to live in. So with that being said, welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and much appreciation for you being here this morning. We have a jam-packed show, so much going on today's broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to keep us busy, and I'm ecstatic to be able to share this with you, and knowing that we have this wonderful Tourney time talk. And from being on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for years, I have done this during the conference tournament week. I've had Syracuse alumni from the basketball program on the show for years. We try to get as many as we possibly can in on the week. We just added a few more for this week, and I'm very excited to share those with you. We have had Dale Shackelford, Gene Waldron, and Roosevelt Bowie Jr. on the show. Today we will have 4 on the broadcast, and tomorrow I told you we had John Wallace. We're actually adding a special edition to that. So after John, there will be yet another person on the show, and I'll be talking about that later on in the broadcast here inside of the Cafe Kubal studio. So with that being said, welcome inside of monpozpopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you the list of topics for the day. I want to let you know that on today's broadcast, like I said, we'll have 4 different Syracuse alumni from the basketball program joining the show. Andre Hawkins will be joining us first. So he's the picture on the left here. Andre Hawkins will be joining us first here at 9:10 a.m. Eastern Time. And so in just a second, Erich Santifer will be joining us next at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time from there. And then at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the 10s. So the 10s will be coming to us in that 10 o'clock hour. Hal Cohen will join us at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and Jim Lee will join us at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So plenty of awesome guests coming on the show today. Andre Hawkins, Erich Santifer, Hal Cohen, and Jimmy Lee all joining us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in this Tourney Time Talk special. We already know I could say that 10 times fast. I did it yesterday on the show, so you can feel free to check that out. But Tourney Time Talk happening for you today inside of the walls of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with Syracuse basketball alumni Andre Hawkins, Erich Santifer, Hal Cohen, and Jimmy Lee. So with all of that being stated, we're going to jump off for a second here so we can get Mr. Andre Hawkins on the basketball show today. Very excited to have him on the show. So we'll be doing that first, and we'll spin right back around after this fast break. So listen in to our great partners here in Central and Upstate New York. And when we come back, Andre Hawkins will start off this show of 4 different Syracuse basketball alumni joining us today to stack the deck as Syracuse gets ready to take on Virginia.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and hope you're taking care of yourself and having a fantastic day today here on Thursday, March 11th, and I'm elated that we get to do this every single year, and I couldn't do it without these gentlemen saying yes. So I want to thank all of the Syracuse basketball alumni that have joined the show over the years and made this possible, that we could do this tourney time talk and really have a great time. So whether Syracuse wins or loses, always having the Syracuse basketball alumni on the show throughout the year and, of course, during conference tournament week and beyond. So I'm very thankful for this. And with that being said, the first of four today is Andre Hawkins, who joins us here from Syracuse basketball history. And let's bring him in. Andre, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
Absolutely. And Andre, Syracuse is coming off of a victory, something that's really difficult to do, which is to beat a team three times in one season. They defeated NC State at home. They defeated them at NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they just defeated them by 21 points, one of the best showings so far in the ACC tournament, hitting 14 threes of 29 chances from beyond the arc. What are your thoughts on the game, defeating a team three times in a row, to speak to that as a former player, and just how well they performed, especially from beyond the arc?
Well, the thing about it is they did what they had to do. Obviously, this is kind of do or die time, but it is very difficult to beat a team three times in a row. I said that on Facebook, and I stand by that, because they know you. They know everything about you, and they should be prepared to play you. Now, a tribute to Coach B, he had them ready. He had them focused. He had them ready. They knew what they had to do, and they went out there and did it. So it's what we kind of been looking for all year long. But this is the time to peak. This is the time to get it right. So, yeah, I think they got a chance to make a nice run.
And to see what they were able to do from beyond the arc, I mean, that's not going to arguably happen every night, obviously, but for Syracuse to go 14 of 29 from beyond, I mean, 48%, 48% as far as hitting those shots from long range, just what you can say to that. We know that Syracuse has shooters. We know that they have, the ability to make these shots, but the fact that they did it in the way that they did it in this game is just, uncanny. And you look at what the score would be without it, and obviously it'd be drastically different. So just what you can say about the fact that they do have shooters, they have the ability to make these shots, and they've had on and off nights, but obviously this one was very much on.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's mental. I know that shooting tends to be a mental thing anyway, but they got nice open looks. They got it to Buddy when he was open. They looked for him. They got it to him, and he delivered. He did. He wasn't the only one, but he delivered. He delivered big, and he delivered often. So, and then second half, they probably keyed on him more, and, the guys stepped up and just continued. So, the three obviously is a big part of the game, period. But, the big man coming in and giving solid 14 minutes, that's what it's all about. And we're going to need him to step up again against Virginia, and I think we can get him.
Yeah, and you talk about that, and you bring up Virginia and say that you think Syracuse can get them. Virginia's had an interesting season. They've obviously ended atop the ACC. They've done some good things. They've also lost to, non-conference. They lost to the San Francisco Dons, and they've had games where they didn't look that pretty. So how do you gauge them coming in? Because we know that, they could do a lot of different things very well, but they've had their struggles this season. They've had their moments where they didn't look pretty. So what do you know of Virginia at this point?
And once again, it's very difficult to beat somebody three times, to this time of the year, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I always say, that's why you play the game. On paper it could look a certain way, and that really doesn't matter because the heart of the players, the desire of the team, and I think Syracuse is very focused right now. That game is done. NC State is great to have won by 21, but it's over. Now it's time to move on, get ready for the next challenge, and I think they're going to be up for the challenge for sure. Now, as far as Virginia as a team, we can't worry about that. As a player, you can't worry about what they're bringing or not bringing, or what they did the last time. Now it's just a point of trying to shut them down, and definitely playing strong inside because they're a very physical team. So.
Yeah,
I think we're going to be ready.
And Virginia, like I said, does so many things well. They will suffocate you, and they, play in that 60 range. They can score more than that, but they live in kind of that 64, 54, 61. They can live in that world, and their defense is fundamental. Their passing is fundamentally strong. I mean, so many things that they do are so good. I mean, Tony Bennett is well deserving of the championship he won. I would argue that he should have another one. And, so I mean, Syracuse is going to get a true test in this matchup if they are to win. In my opinion, before the tournament even started, I said if Syracuse gets 2 wins in the tournament, they're good, they're in, they're done, because that should be more than enough for the committee. It would put Syracuse in a place where they would be 17-8. And I thought that, that would be more than enough. I still feel that way. What are your thoughts? If Syracuse beats Virginia, is there any question after that if they should be in the tournament?
Oh no, not at all. That's 100%. If they make it, and like you said, I think that they got a serious shot, especially with, other teams not even playing as many games as we played, because they started their seasons, even later on. So, yeah, it speaks to the opportunity, but you never know with the selection committee what's going to happen until it's, said and done. But right now they're playing well. They're doing what they got to do, and I think if anything, you bring your A game every game, and so you give yourself a chance to win. And I think they're going to have a chance. And hopefully, hey, if Virginia wants to take it kind of easy because they've already got everything locked up, you never know how they're going to play. They've got to play up, also. So, you're right. They play solid defense and everything like that. They're pretty solid all the way around. But we as long as we bring and play solid also, don't beat yourself. Never beat yourself. Make a team, a lot of the mistakes, you tend to just get a little sloppy with it. So I really feel a good game coming.
Yeah, and speaking here with Andre Hawkins, Syracuse Orange men's basketball alum, this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Like you said, you just need that, you need to just focus on yourself. You can't focus on them. I mean, obviously, you scheme for them and you try to understand them and you go over film and different things that you need to do. But at the end of the day, you can't worry about the record. You can't worry about the fact that they're number one in the ACC. You can't worry about the fact that, they've won a championship in recent history, that their coach has been able to beat down a lot of people. You can't think about any of that because it's something that's really hard in life, and I've had to learn it. And I think a lot of people have to learn it maybe still and whatnot, and we continue to grow through it. But you can only control yourself. And the more that Syracuse thinks about what Virginia's doing and how's Virginia gonna, and Virginia, you're gonna be beat before you even walk in, because if you think they're the big bad wolf, they will blow your house down. And I think that, that's an essential part of this, that as much film as you watch and as much as you practice and as much as you try to scheme, at the end of the day, you have to play your game. You can't mimic their game. You have to play your way, and you have to understand the only thing you can control is yourself. How important is that to know as a former player and just in life in general, that, when somebody sets up to block you from something you want, that you can't focus on controlling them, because that's not possible?
Oh, most definitely. You're out there to play your game. You're out there. The coaches get you ready. You know what they're going to do, because they go through in practices their plays. You know their plays sometimes just as well as they know their plays. You know a pick is coming. You're looking for it because that's what they do. Now the whole point is you gotta be ready for your game. Hit the shots when you're open. Make it easier by making the extra pass sometimes. So and just finishing. And the thing about it, in any game, in any situation, you never know who's going to step up and who's going to have that big game. And when the guy is hot, get him the ball. It's kind of simple, but it's, and just finishing that you're thinking about a lot of times what's going on with this team. And just play your game. If Buddy gets the same looks, he's going to hit a good percentage of those shots because he's got that type of game, So I'm just very confident in what they're going to do, and I'm confident in the way the coach has got them mentally, going to have them mentally prepared for this next game. Because you're right, it is a lot of mental and not overthinking. The game's not as hard as people think. You just got to play. It's just like all that defensive pressure. That's nice. I'm not going to throw the ball away just because you're up on me. That means nothing to me, as far as being a player. Now, and just making good passes and always being alert, because they are a pressing, trapping type team. So, just being prepared.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for Syracuse is they seem to be clicking more now. Do you get a sense for that? Do you get a feel for that? That Syracuse looks more comfortable now? They look more like themselves, because they haven't had a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. But they've had these weird, win by 20, lose by 20, and, that's kind of plagued them this year, that they'll look good, and then they'll look bad, and then they'll come back to it, and then they'll go back the other way. But in your opinion, are they playing their best basketball right now, and what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I got to go along with you on that. There's been some up and downs, and there's been some very hard losses early on. But this is the time, and they look like they're peaking. They're looking good, real good now. These last couple of games have been solid, and this is when you want to play your best ball in the postseason. So, we got a chance to do something here. And then obviously one game at a time, and then we got to wait for the selection committee. But I agree with you. Based upon this crazy year of COVID, these last couple of games, they should be in the tournament, and they're definitely in the top 65 in the postseason, or whatever it is. Yeah, we got a chance to. I think they get in here, and then I've waited one game at a time, and that's what we do. Play one at a time. But I agree with you. Based upon this crazy year of COVID.
Yeah, and seeing what they've been able to do. You talked about the big man, Jesse Edwards, and I brought him up here on the show going into the game against NC State, and also the Kadari Richmond factor. How important have those two guys been? Are they catalysts in your opinion? Are they necessary moving forward? When you think about, Kadari as a true freshman and what he's done as a point guard, really the true point guard on this team, even though he comes off the bench, with what he's done and with what Jesse Edwards has tried to do, standing around 7 foot, to allow Marek Dolezaj to actually be in position somewhat as a forward. What is your take on those two guys and how vital they become as Syracuse continues to try and keep themselves alive?
Oh, you already touched on everything. You touched on exactly what they're about. We need the big center in the middle. When you're playing the zone, you know that even if you get beat, he's back there. He's back there. He's ready to block shots, alter shots, and that's key. and give a man a vital rest, a couple of minutes here and there, and be productive. And he's been that. He's been very productive. I think he's going to continue to get better as his confidence gets better every night. So, and we really need him this game to play strong. He's got to play strong. He's going to have to play physical. There's going to be times where, hey, take a good foul, just don't get in the silly ones, and I know about those. So, in the past, but yeah, you bring it, and as far as a point guard, you always need a solid point guard, especially somebody that's looking to get Buddy Griffin involved and get them open when they're open, getting them the ball and just playing solid defense. So, yeah, we're gonna need both of them.
Yeah,
it's very critical. You need everybody on the team. People don't think, you need, because they got to play strong in practice. So you need everybody to always be focused on what the goal is, which is helping the team win. So.
And I think a big part of this, speaking here with Andre Hawkins, Syracuse Orange men's basketball alum, this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, as we have tourney time talk with these gentlemen stacking the deck every conference tournament week every year with Syracuse Orange basketball alumni. And Andre here with me speaking on the team. Buddy Boeheim, I want to get to a couple topics before I let you go, Andre, and one of them is Buddy. I never understood he's the coach's son, that's why he plays. Because Jimmy is also a coach's son. He went elsewhere. He did his thing. Buddy came to Syracuse. Buddy was recruited throughout the country. He was recruited by Gonzaga, and Mark Few and Gonzaga have a lot of respect from me that they've held for a very long time. So, the whole Buddy plays because of this and Buddy because of that. Buddy rebounds. Buddy attacks the basket. Buddy gets after it. People don't seem to maybe want to pay attention, and sometimes somebody comes up with a really stupid comment, and just for giggles, people follow that comment without really any intelligence or wisdom, any type of knowledge whatsoever. Somebody says they hate this, people follow in that direction. Buddy Boeheim played in 37 minutes, had 27 points, was 10 of 16 from the field, 50% from 3, 6 for 12. He also had 5 assists in the game, limited to 2 turnovers, and had a couple rebounds. Are you sick and tired of hearing if Buddy played anywhere else, he wouldn't be on the court? Because as far as I'm concerned, this man is chasing GMAC and trying to hit threes. He's got over 1,000 career points in 3 seasons and still has another season and then another if he wants it due to Corona. What is your take on what I consider the idiocy of saying that Buddy Boeheim wouldn't have this and wouldn't have that? I think Buddy has more than fought for what he's got, and without Buddy Boeheim, I don't know if Syracuse wins 8 games this year.
Boy, you just said a mouthful. I don't even know if I need to say anything other than ditto. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I read a lot of the comments. I read the comments, too, and just the negativity about the team in general. Be a fan. Be a true fan. I'm not saying you got to be a quiet fan or, a mute fan if you have an opinion, but just make sure, like you just said, make sure your opinion has some merit to it, that it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, as a former player, you can't get caught up in what somebody says. Oh, they should have been this, it should have been that. It can get to you if you let it. It could get to you if you let it. Buddy, I'm just thankful that we have him. Yeah, and Buddy's not the first player to play for his father. All throughout the country, they all do it as far as playing. Now, the thing about it is, has he produced? Oh, yeah. He has produced. So guess what? If he wasn't producing, he wouldn't be playing. Coach is about winning. Yeah. Period. So, sometimes, you got to crack that top 7, top 8 players. But if you do that, you're going to play. You're going to have a chance. So that's the competition. You got to bring it in practice. You got to bring it in the off season. And Buddy's I saw Buddy play a couple of games in high school, and I thought he would have more scoring. But, you got to get comfortable. You got to feel your niches and stuff like that. So, no, in 3 years to have 1,000, that is phenomenal. So, he's got an opportunity to pack on some real numbers over the next possible, like you said, 2 years. So, it depends on what he decides to do. So, I'm like you. I'm thankful we got him. And you're going to always have haters. So, that saying naysayers, they're going to still hate. Because haters hate, that's what they do. So, you can't get caught up in that. Now, you just don't want to see it as much with your hometown people. If you consider yourself a fan, be a fan, and it's okay. You roll with the punches. It's been a really crazy year. COVID has messed up a lot of teams, so I'm just thankful that they're bringing it every night, so.
Yeah, and I think Syracuse has more than navigated this, having to pause, having, a bunch of players, Frank Anselm, Joe Girard III, Buddy Boeheim, all having to deal with COVID, Coach Boeheim having to deal with it as well, and they found a way to get through it. I mean, we forget they took, 13 days off after the Buffalo game and everything with that, so there's something to be stated of that. Last point, and kind of going back to something we were talking about, Jesse Edwards played almost half of the game against NC State, 18 minutes in the game, and he had 5 offensive rebounds, 8 total rebounds, and 4 points. Also had a block in the game. Your take on, he had 3 fouls in the game too. Your take on Jesse most recently, he's really tried to help out where he could. He does attack, he gets after it. But I'm circling those 5 offensive rebounds, not total, but offensive. I'm circling the 8 altogether. He's scoring a few points. He's blocking a shot. He's definitely giving something to it. And more than anything else, he's allowing, as I stated before, Marek to shift back to familiar territory that he really never gets to play in at Syracuse. But what is your take on Jesse around the rim? Because Syracuse has struggled rebounding the ball, and they're going to have tests moving forward, especially with Virginia, who is so fundamentally sound and really doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Well, see, and that's why when people are putting bodies on people, you need the guards. There's going to be rebounds that get out there. They're going to be loose. So you need them to definitely look to rebound, especially when your team is not a great rebounding team. You already touched on everything, especially the physicality of Virginia and the soundness of Virginia. So for us, we're going to need every player to step up, every player to look to rebound, to definitely play defense, and help defense. Because, if you get beat, you want to know that you've got help back there. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for this game coming up. I'm definitely what every player has brought. Jesse's brought it, and that's what you want, and that's what you kind of expect, And as I can't remember if it was Billy Packer, but something like the season, you're no longer a freshman. You're no longer a sophomore. You're the next level. It's another season. So the experiences are showing now, and you want to, like as we've just already touched on, this is where they're peaking, and this is where you want to peak. You want to look your best now. You don't want to look your best the first 8 games, and then you just go downhill from there. So they're looking good.
Yeah. And they're doing what they need to do right now. Syracuse looking to have that life that they've brought to themselves in the postseason before to keep them rolling and keep them rocking. So with that being said, Andre Hawkins, appreciate it. Thankful that you got to start off our Tourney Time Talk conversation today, and love having you on whenever I get the chance, and having you on this week, especially as we do this every single season to honor not only Syracuse's present, but their future and, of course, their past. So thank you for your time, Andre. I really do appreciate it, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on, and go Orange.
All right, take care. That coming from Andre Hawkins here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, Erich Santifer will be joining us next inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Cuse is firmly in the house, and I'm excited. Cafe Kubal Studios, we got a lot rocking and rolling here today, and you'll hear from Erich Santifer right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter, right around the corner.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and happy to be here on Facebook as well, Facebook Live, facebook.com/livenowdt, as well as youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're listening or watching the show, we thank you so much for being inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. There's nothing like Cafe Kubal in our community. You know, their coffee, their tea, their sandwiches, their desserts, everything is different. And I'm so happy that they create it here, brew it here, and bring it to us right here in our community. And they will come to you with a mobile cafe as well as home delivery. There's no delivery charge to Onondaga County. And, of course, there are 5 locations on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, all in Syracuse, and their newest location at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. So head out to Cafe Kubal today and fill your cup with your favorites as well. MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', bringing you 4 of our Syracuse basketball alumni today. I'm honored and privileged to do Tourney Time Talk every single season, something I came up with about, 6 years ago or so. And Andre Hawkins started off the day. Erich Santifer is here with us now, and I'm always grateful to have some time with Mr. Santifer. So let's bring him in. Erich, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, and greetings and blessings to the Orange Nation, and hope you guys are staying warm and safe up there in the Central New York area.
Yeah, you know, we're doing the best we can. The snow is melting. It's looking nice outside now. It's actually... you could go out and walk the dog. So, I can say, Erich, that life is definitely trending toward the spring right now, which is a good feeling. How's everything been for you? I know that you last time we talked, you have been in the process of publishing your book. So where are things right now on the book, and what can you tell us about it?
The book publishing process is going very, very well. Very happy with my participation with Christian Faith Publishing. We're past the editing phase now. We're going into the illustration where we're putting back the pictures and confirming the cover of the book. So we're probably about 3 weeks away. And as the writing process with God and that journey with God and keeping my promise to Mr. Hicks, the journey now for the publication and then the marketing and distribution of it, really has me excited. I'm hoping that the circumstances with COVID allow the New York area promise to Mr. Northeast corridor. The journey now for publication and the marketing and distribution of it really has me excited. I'm hoping that the circumstances with COVID allow
and you and I had spoken on this, and before we get into Syracuse basketball right now, currently, just how important it was, and you bring up Mr. Hicks and the promise for people that don't know, just what that promise was, and why you're keeping it. Before we get into Syracuse basketball right now, currently, just how important it was, and you bring up Mr. Hicks and the promise for people that don't know, just what that promise was, and why you're keeping it. Just how important it was, and you bring up Mr. Hicks and the promise for people that.
A lot of people may be familiar with I know there's a lot of people out there listening that are in stages of their life where they're caring for their guardian or their elders now and their parents. And I had great pleasure of doing that for my grandmother. So I actually turned it into a business. So I've spent more or less through 2018, the 10 years previous, as a home health care provider. It gave me the autonomy to care for my grandmother and do some other things, without having the restrictions of the 9 to 5. And in that process, I met a gentleman, Bernard Hicks, who lived in one of the buildings with my grandmother and I in Atlanta. And, coincidentally, he was from Detroit, Michigan, and we met. And he took this immediate liking to me. And we became friends, and he asked me to assist him as best I could, and I did. And probably, within a month of it, he started talking about the letter. This letter that he wrote to encourage people that if you have a vision, you have a dream, follow it. If you have good skill sets, you communicate well, you have good health, and trust in God, anything is possible. And he wrote this letter back in the late 60s, early 70s, and began the process of wanting to write a book about the letter and his life journey. So he asked me to assist him, and I was like, yeah, okay. And so this was 2009, actually, and we proceeded, moving out of the building. We stayed in contact, but then lost in contact. In 2012, he got back with me and said, I need your help again as a caregiver. And I agreed, and once we reunited, he jumped right back into help me publish the letter, help me publish my journey. And so we agreed, we signed a document that allowed me to do that. He gave me his works, writing, and how it really evolved. I kind of took it with a grain of salt. We're on this journey. Most people will recognize a book from Mitch's album, Tuesday with Morrie, which was a great hit. And Mitch is a outstanding author and journalist with the Detroit Free Press. So growing up, I got a chance to read a lot of Mitch stuff, and he gave me some kudos as a high school student athlete. But I asked Mr. Hicks about, what day, and he said Thursdays. So we started spending Thursdays together on this journey with God, and to wanting to write a book about the letter and his life journey and his journey. And that's what it started out to be. It was this Thursday with Mr. Hicks, and I was just going to be, the ghostwriter or the writer of it. And then the evolution and where God really stepped in. I went to visit him one Wednesday to check on him, and he wasn't doing well. We got him comfortable that night. He went to bed. Before we went to bed, the last thing he said to me was, Mr. Erich, promise me that if God calls me home or anything should happen, you're going to publish the letter and you're going to publish this book. And I'm like, yeah. We're going to have a great session tomorrow, and we'll keep plugging along. We'll find a publisher. We'll plug along. We go to bed. I check on him at 2:30. He's on 24-hour oxygen, so the compressor's working well. I'm cool. I go to wake him up at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. Mr. Hicks passed away in his sleep, and his last words to me were, "Promise me that you're going to publish this book. And I said, don't worry, Mr. Hicks, I will. He says, you keep your promise. And I said that I would. And a portion of the book where I introduced Mr. Hicks and his writing, he talks about keeping a promise. He's talking about New Year's resolution, and he makes a description. He says, you know, I can't keep a promise to myself. How can I keep a promise to others? So I took the 50, 60 pages that he gave me, and I developed, I take that back. I didn't know how to develop it. So eventually I go back to my hometown in Michigan, and I'm struggling with how do I keep this promise? How do I tell his story? And I was so focused on telling his story, and eventually in 2006, God shared with me and said, tell our story. You know, tell the journey that I've blessed you with as part of this book. And so it turned into Everyday God, Thursdays with Mr. Hicks, Promises Made, Promises Kept, my 40-year journey. And, you know, I take the 40-year journey basically from my senior year of high school as I'm preparing as a student athlete, and I go through that journey through my freshman and sophomore year at Syracuse, and my career at Syracuse, till I actually start writing the book. I started writing in January of 2019, which was 40 years from my senior year in high school. And I just chronicle some stuff, and I talk about the good, the bad, the indifference. I talk about developing into a student athlete. I talk about some relationships. You know, I'll say it here on air. I talk about the controversies. I talk about the drug use. I talk about the good, the bad, and the indifferent. But, you know, the motivating factor the entire time was to keep my promise to Mr. Hicks. And I know there's people out there think, oh, he's written a book and he's going to write a book and always tell this. I tell my truth about my experience as a person. I tell my truth about my experience as a student athlete. And my truth has statistical merit. My truth has actual merit. There may be some of my teammates, some of my student athletic friends, and people that are a part of my student athletic career, both scholastically and collegiately, that may not agree with it. I don't care. I played. I had a great student athletic career. I would go back to Syracuse 10 times out of 10. And the numbers can't deny my significance. That said, the journey and the project with Mr. Hicks and God, I was just being an obedient servant and became the writer. And so I encourage all the listeners and, you know, the fans and the Christian folks out there, the sports fans, to buy a copy, because really it's a Christian book. I was so blessed to develop a partnership with Christian Faith Publishing, the leading Christian publishing house in North America with a worldwide distribution. So for those people that think, oh, it's some tell-on, again, I say that again, this is a Christian journey. And for all of you that believe in God, sharing God, quote God, and know me, I ask your participation, I ask your support to purchase the book. And you can purchase the book at everydaygod.us. And until I'm able to go out and do book signings, the only place that you can get a signed copy is at everydaygod.us. Very nice website. I'm actually going to download this interview today, the one we did earlier, and did a nice interview with Red last week. So the website is very, very well developed, and we'll be adding some products to that as well. Again, that's everydaygod.us. Dan, thank you for this opportunity to have this monologue, if you will, to promote the book. The book should be out later this month, early April. Again, everydaygod.us. Thank you, man.
Yeah, you know, and you said something really cool, and right before we jump into looking at Syracuse's team right now, you spoke about the fact that you took care of your grandmother, and that she was, your all, your queen, somebody that, you just really appreciate and continue to, as she's, such an important part of your life. And I just wanted to say thank you for you saying those words, because my grandmother is the exact same to me and has always been that way. And she lived to be just shy of 101. She was 100 and a half in 9 days. And, I actually, for a time, I was always close with her, but I decided to go live with her and take care of her for a little over 2 years of her life. I was there with her, and I said she's the best roommate I ever had. So I just wanted to say thank you for you mentioning your grandmother, because I can definitely connect with you on taking care of someone who took care of you.
Well, and that's such a blessing. And my grandmother lived to 93. And one of the things I mentioned in the book, I'm a grandson. No disrespect to my mother and the sons and daughters out there. I consider myself a grandson. My grandmother adopted me out of the hospital, and my grandmother moved to Syracuse for my sophomore year. So of my 57 plus years with my grandmother and I lived in the same city and most times in the same household for probably 50 plus of those years. She was my soulmate. I've never been in love, and I've never been married. And Miss Cooper certainly was my soulmate. So thank you for those kind words. And let's talk some basketball. And again, everydayguy.us, everybody.
Yep, everydayguy.us. And we added it here to the live feed so you could check it out. And we already have somebody that came in, said great story on the book, and we'll read it. So a lot of good stuff coming up here, and appreciate you all for supporting Erich Santifer and his promises made and promises kept, because how many times have you made a promise that you still haven't kept? A promise you forgot about, or a promise that you didn't come through on? And that should hit you. It should get you right in the heart when you don't keep it. So I think it's huge that, you're keeping a promise to yourself, you're keeping a promise to God, you're keeping a promise to Mr. Hicks. There's so much that you're doing that I think is representative of what we should aspire to be, because we make a lot of promises in life as human beings, but we don't always keep them.
And thank you for saying that. And again, before we talk basketball, you're so right. And the importance for Christians and just religious people that believe in a higher power, this became and evolved because of God. God would not let me not fulfill this promise. And I have broken promises throughout my life, as you just mentioned, we all have. And this one, God just burdened me and kicked me in my ass about it until I did it. And he made the accommodations and the availability and the resources. So again, I thank you for taking the time that you've allowed me to promote the book project, and my prayers to everyone, and again, thanks to God and to Mr. Hicks for allowing me to share this wonderful journey with them over the last 10 plus years and the last 2 years of writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that coming from Erich Santifer this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Go to everydaygod.us, and that's where you can get all the information on the book, as well as be ready for when it comes out, the signed copy and everything. So appreciate you going there. Erich, this year's team seems to be surging at the right point. Syracuse has done this in the past. They seem to, be that student that didn't write their paper that they had 5 months to write, and they wrote 2-3 months to write, let's say, and then they're writing it the night before, and then that paper comes out really good. So they're in this kind of back against the wall 11th hour. They've been up and down this season, but they defeated North Carolina, who is above them in the ACC standings. They defeated Clemson, who a lot of people still think is going to the NCAA tournament. And then they come in, they defeat NC State 3 times this season, including a 21-point victory this time around. What are your thoughts on where Syracuse is at? And then secondly, how difficult is it not just to beat a team 3 times in a season as a former player, but to do it by double digits and essentially blow out NC State?
Well, the last third of the season is probably the most critical portion of the year if you're having a plus 500 year. It's kind of like the last 2 to 5 minutes of a ball game. It's the most crucial. And Syracuse has had some big wins down the stretch, playing well, the victories that you just mentioned, beating North Carolina State 3 times in the same season. I can remember back to some of the big rivalries in the inaugural years of the Big East. You know, my senior year, as a matter of fact, you know, we played Georgetown and we lost to them in the regular season twice by 5 points. And we beat them in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament that year. And so that tells you how tough it is, not only in rivalry games, but certainly within a great conference that the Big East is, and the ACC also is. So having that momentum that they have is to their benefit. You know, when you're at this stage in the season and you're having critics, especially the selection committees, evaluating you, you want to be playing your best basketball. You know, I shared a scenario with you just before we came on air that I shared 3 scenarios with you, and two of them benefit Syracuse, and that's a great position to be in. You play Virginia, the top seed today, you win, you're in no matter what happens moving forward. You play them close and lose, you're in because you showed well and you finished strong. The only negative would be that you go and you get blown out. Then your skeptics are going to look at you and say, do they really meet the criteria? You got all these different quads and criteria now. And, you know, people use the silliness, you know, they get the eye test and all that nonsense. I'm not taking a poke at some of the people that are out there selecting and writing stories about basketball. There's a whole lot of never step a competitive foot a day on a basketball court at the collegiate level. So-called experts talking some nonsense sometimes, but that's just my subjective opinion. And most people that know me from my experience, I am outspoken. But right now, I think their momentum is good. If I had to make a parallel with where they are with the point during my career, it would be the sophomore year. We come into the Big East tournament 15 and 11. We lose Marty Head last game of the season against St. John's with a broken hand. And, you know, we're the lower third of a 16 or 17 conference with 5th probably seed. And, you know, we lose our best shooter and probably the best player that had just the most court awareness. Marty Head's basketball IQ to me was tremendous. I mean, I learned so much from him. I was sharing with the Reds as we were on a podcast the other day when Coach took me out the lineup as a starter sophomore year. I started playing a little bit of 2-guard, and Marty and I were always our good friends off court. But I started to tap into Marty more on court at the 2 spot. So when he went down and I was inserted full time as a 2-guard, I was able to take his insight and his knowledge, and he was always in my ear. But to my point, we're 5th seed going into the Big East tournament, and we pretty much rolled through the first 2 rounds. We set up that epic triple overtime game against Villanova, which truly, probably after Georgetown and Coach Thompson shutting down Manley Fieldhouse, the triple overtime game in the Dome for the Big East tournament in 1981 is probably the second most significant and epic moment of the inaugural 4 years of the Big East. And, you know, we played well, and we gelled at the right time. And that's what I'm hoping this year's team can have that momentum with the success that they've had late and beating NC State 3 times and a great victory with a 21-point victory. It's going to be a tough road. I mean, you know, you got Miami or Georgia Tech next. But, you know, the great thing is, and like I said earlier, the great benefit about about today's game is you're playing the number one seed, so you have two very good measurable outcomes. The one thing that concerns me about the game is it starts at 11 a.m. And us basketball student athletes are sometimes creatures of habit. We're normally used to playing evening games unless we're playing a featured Saturday or Sunday game. So this is a midweek game kind of at 11 a.m. But you have to adjust accordingly. And if they continue to play well and have consistency shooting the basketball as they did against NC State and defend accordingly, and everybody plays to their capability, we'll be very competitive today.
Yeah, and Syracuse, having this opportunity to go up against Virginia and have another crack on them and another shot on them. Just what you could say. What would be your advice to Syracuse right now, playing a team that has had their blunders as well, has had some rough moments this season, but is at the top of the ACC? What would you say to Syracuse, knowing that Virginia has phenomenal leadership from their coach, and even when he loses players, he's always getting ready for the next. He's always grooming guys. That's why he stays successful. You might not know the names on the team, but you're going to get to know them, and then when those guys leave, you get to know the next ones. Virginia has a system that Tony Bennett and his staff have created that has been truly remarkable, and they do the things you're supposed to do well in basketball, the stuff that might be considered boring to some people, but the stuff that you need, boxing out, getting a bunch of passes, a couple extra passes in, playing hot potato with the ball, making sure that your defense is sound, your hands are up, you're moving your feet, you're able to shift, you're able to key in on different things. Just the suffocation of bringing the shot clock down and taking as much time as they can. They're so systematic in so many things that they do. What's your advice to Syracuse about dealing with them today, when obviously Virginia has caused some people to get very frustrated?
Well, the one great thing that you said in all of that was the system, and I'm sure people will know, and if they know Coach Bennett's history, he had great success at Green Bay, Wisconsin. He just didn't show up. He built a great coaching resume and landed where he is now, and his system has proved very successful program to program. So, and he believes in that system. My advice to Syracuse and to the Syracuse fans, here's my take. I always felt very comfortable with the preparation and the strategy and the game plan that Coach Boeheim put together during my 4 years. Statistics say that he's one of the greatest coaches in NCAA history, and he continues to be that. The zone is effective. The zone is as effective as the aggressiveness and the mentality of the players game to game. Not season to season, game to game. I believe Coach Boeheim will have a team well prepared. They've seen Virginia before. They know the personnel. Like you said, people may not know the names, but you better believe each player in that locker room knows the names of the players. They know where they need to hedge, where they need to cheat, who the scores are. Coach Boeheim have to box out. Have a team. Again, playing for Coach Boeheim, I always felt, prepared, fundamentally sound. If the young men if they play their game and execute what they need to do fundamentally and maintain their responsibilities for what Syracuse does best, they will compete. Again, it's just a matter of discipline. It's a matter of consistency that creates success.
Yeah, and Syracuse has to, find that consistency, that positive consistency. They shot 14 of 29 from three against NC State. That won't happen arguably every night, but remember, Marek Dolezaj had 7 points in the game. Syracuse has the depth and I don't think it's really hit people yet because it doesn't always all click at the same time. But they have the depth with Joe Girard III, Buddy Boeheim, able to shoot. Robert Braswell has improved on his shot. We know that Alan Griffin can knock some shots down. We know Marek can do his thing. Kadari has helped out. Jesse Edwards is helping out inside. And obviously Quincy Guerrier and what he's done to muscle his way in and really be one of those unsung heroes in the country. So there's a lot to be said about Syracuse's ability to shoot and their depth that they have offensively. And I think if it all clicked at the same time, people would be, think about it. If Marek scored 20, if Marek scored 15 in the game, if he did just a little bit more, Syracuse is at 100 points. So, so many times this season, Buddy plays well, Kadari plays well, Joe's quiet. Joe plays well, Allen plays well, Quincy's quiet. But if they all played well, this team has arguably some of the best depth they've had in a long time. Would you agree with that, and what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with what you just said, and, that's a luxury. And so hopefully Coach Boeheim and his staff and very experienced staff will utilize that. And when you talk about depth, the key to success in using depth is getting the most out of a player for periods of time, giving them a rest, and then not dropping off most. Basketball is a game of fifths. You have 5 positions. When I was coaching high school, my basketball philosophy has always been, if you win 3/5, you generally will win. And my philosophy as a player, as I played and competed at all levels, was to win my position.
Coach, what you can say about, obviously the way that this game ended and what this team has been through this season, what we've all been through this season, what that feels like for you to not just have a game-winning shot moving forward, but to go through everything with Corona, just the emotions that go through the building, especially having some fans there.
Well, there was a great energy in the building, and it was a road atmosphere. The Wake fans really helped their team to lead, especially early. And they were
and offset or outplay their 2 guard. So consistency is always the key. Certainly you're going to have a bad game every now and then. Certainly you're going to have an exceptional game every now and then. But the goal is consistency. And, to your point, if the team can put some consistency together and everybody step up and play to that level of consistency and merit that has them where they are, they have enough talent and depth, and they have a great coach to compete with anybody in the country. And again, momentum isn't a game thing. It is a game thing, but momentum is a consistency thing. And this is a time, and again, one plug I'm going to say about my career. The one thing I was consistent. I had a few bad games there. I blew up a couple times, but for the most part, for 4 years, you could count on me coming out being consistent.
That coming from Erich Santifer here, speaking on Syracuse, telling them to be consistent after he showed that consistency in his career as well. Erich, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you brought to the show today. More than anything, I appreciate your relationship with your grandmother and your faith. Go to everydaygod.us to get more information. And Mr. Santifer, I'll be talking with you very soon.
Dan, I appreciate it, and I'll reach out to you when the book is actually published, and maybe we can do it again. Go Orange. Love you, folks.
All right, take care. Be good.
Take care. Be good.
That coming from Erich Santifer here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We'll take a quick step aside on the broadcast, and when we come back, we will be set and ready to go with Hal Cohen right after this fast break.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpassnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way there and download the app on the way on the Google Play or Apple App Store. That'll give you every single piece of their menu at your fingertips, from their homemade breads and desserts to quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, brick oven pizzas, and their sandwiches that are named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, there is nothing like the Millhouse Market, and that is why they are worth the drive every time. Open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday and 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sunday. You could go to their drive-up window during those times, and on the weekends, and including for Sunday brunch, you could go to their indoor dining bistro restaurant that they have there. And of course, Tuesday through Sunday, you're able to get inside the general store and buy local products from the amazing local companies we have in our upstate New York community. Millhouse Market, worth the drive every time. With that being stated, here on Wake Up Call with Dan and Tortora, we are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and of course we're live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT for internet streaming radio, which you can pick up on the homepage of our main site, WakeUpCallDT.com. Inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com is what's poppin'. Andre Hawkins, Erich Santifer have been on the show. Hal Cohen is next. In the hour of 10 o'clock, we have the 10s, Hal Cohen and Jimmy Lee, and we'll start with Hal. Hal, how are we doing today?
Wow, you started with the better of the two. That was nice of you. Thank you.
So Hal, what?
And you can tell Jimmy that too.
Oh, I definitely will. You can be sure that I will. So, what's going on, Hal? How's life? How's 2021 treating you and the family?
Well, as with everybody, we're just kind of hunkering down. We were very fortunate to have our first grandson down in Charlotte, so we moved down there for the year to spend with our granddaughter. My daughter and our grandson. So we were down in the Charlotte area. It's not too far from Greensboro.
No, and a beautiful thing that you got to. So you made the decision with the birth of your grandson that you were going to move so that you could be stationed there and actually be able to be around your grandson. That is a very smart, very well thought of decision, and I'm sure that it worked out great for you, and I'm sure that you had a lot more happy times and sad times taking care of a little one.
Yeah, I actually I said to my wife, I said, wow, I didn't realize it was this hard. Wow, taking care of a child is in the old days when I was working, I was, you come home for a couple hours and you rock the kids a little bit, watch the game and walk the kids, and it wasn't too bad. But then when you had to go more than 2 hours, 6 hours or so at a time, that I guess becomes stressful.
Yeah. So I mean, you learn through your grandchildren sometimes how to raise the a kid again, essentially. So what did your wife say to you when you said, I didn't realize it was this hard?
She just smiled.
I was gonna say she didn't hit you or nothing. I mean,
no. Well, that was kind of like it was. I mean, I'm sure maybe everybody else has the same experience. It's kind of like, oh, now I get it. Wow, that was. We had 4 kids. 6, 4, 2, and a newborn. And now I get it. Now I get it. But the lucky thing, I had to go. We had 4 kids to go to work. So then when I had to come home at night and again turn on the SU game and put a couple kids, rock the kids, and that was it. And I was off to work the next day. So I didn't really appreciate the extent and the amount of work mothers throughout the world, and so I apologize to everybody if I didn't give them enough due credit.
Well, and now you've learned how to do it. So what are the biggest things that you learned taking care of a newborn?
Well, the good news is my daughter was teaching remotely upstairs, so I was only about a stairway away from any major trauma. But just get a routine. That was it. Get a routine. But there always this one time when there's this uncontrollable crying going on, and that's pretty intense. So that's when I would slowly walk up the stairs.
And do what you got to do. Understood.
Yeah.
So,
and I only did it like a couple days a week, and my wife would, we'd kind of alternate. So that was good. So
that coming from Hal Cohen here with us this morning, teaching us about finally realizing how tough it is to raise a kid. Now I got to tell you, Hal, I do not have any. I have my dog, who's very much my little baby. But I do not have any human children of my own right now. So what are your words of advice for the day that I actually have the birth of a child that is mine?
Well, you got to have a very understanding wife who spends the day with the kids and takes care of them, and then hopefully when you come home from work, you will appreciate what she has done, and you'll take care of the kids on the weekends and whenever you have any available time. So it's a team effort, and just like SU basketball, team effort, and work together, and maybe appreciate what they're doing a little bit more than what it seems like at the time.
Yeah, coming here from Syracuse Orange men's basketball alum Hal Cohen. You didn't know you were going to get a parenting, a crash course this morning, did you, Syracuse fans? But we're getting it, we're learning it, and I appreciate it. Hal, you said, having a give and take with your significant other is teamwork on the court and off the court, and you bring it, from the house to the basketball court. What can you say about this year's team for Syracuse? What does the teamwork look like to you? Is it better than it's ever been this season right now? What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a very, very obviously difficult year overall in terms of obviously COVID, but it's been interesting from the basketball perspective. I don't know if we've ever had a team like this where you, at one moment, you'd say, "Man, we're pretty good," and then the next. Within one game, and then you're saying, "Man, maybe we're not so good." And then the next game, "Man, we're pretty good." So it's been, it's kind of a wrap it up and wrap it down, and but now it seems like
Colin, you didn't know you were going to get a parenting,
together,
a crash course this morning, did you, Syracuse fans? But
we're not so good. The combinations and guys coming, backup point guard, and so it's been everybody, kind of a wrap it up and wrap it down, but now it seems like they're coming together very well right now, and playing well, and I think they're together, and the combinations, and guys coming in right now, and the backup point guard situation reminds me of those who were back in 45 years ago.
Yeah.
We had when on my junior year, we had three guards. We had a point guard named Eddie Moss, and we had a shooting guard, Marty Head, and I was kind of a combination shooting guard and point guard. And, it was a three guard kind of a rotation thing, and it went very well, and it was nice to be able to be a point guard and a shooting guard, because then you could, if the point guard went out, you could be the point guard. If the shooting guard went out, you were the shooting guard. So it sounds like they kind of have that rotation thing kind of working out. And when some teams play zone, and you play a little bit more of the shooter, if the other teams are playing man more, then so that seems to have worked itself out. And I know everybody was all up and down, in terms of who their favorite was and who should be playing more. But right now, I think they've kind of got a nice little rotation going.
Yeah, and Marek Dolezaj, somebody that I have talked about since he came to Syracuse, and love this story of, I talk with Adrian Autry about going to, I remember Adrian saying to me, hey, he's like, I got somebody, he's out in Slovakia, I think he's going to be really good, we're trying to bring him in and whatnot, and then he went out there. I remember talking to him when he was going out there, like, the story of Marek Dolezaj starts earlier for me, thanks to Adrian, and when he got to Syracuse and he got on the court and he started doing different things and going after loose balls and putting his body out there, not caring that he's 78 pounds and the guy's 280, and going up against him all the time, I said, I respect this guy. I like this guy. He reminded me of Christoph Anjanat in the sense that, Christoph did so many things, never showed up in the stat sheet, and people, thought that he didn't do a lot because of that, but they weren't watching the game. Marek comes in, he's doing the same type of stuff, and then he starts to score, and I kept saying, wow, I love this guy. Wow, this guy is great. Wow, I love watching this guy. And now everybody loves Marek, but if you go back and watch his career at Syracuse, hell, he's doing this stuff all the time. He's putting his body out there, he's taking shots, he's improving his shot, he's improving his range. He's going after rebounds. He's going after loose balls. He's got great vision. He's dribbling the ball well. He's essentially, arguably, played all 5 positions on the court for Syracuse. Sometimes he was their best point guard. He's been out there as their best center. He's been out there as one of their key forwards. So, I would venture to say that Marek Dolezaj is one of the greatest things that's happened to Syracuse basketball in a long time. And I'd love to get your thoughts on it since everybody's a Marek fan now, but I was wearing that Marek jersey way back, so I can say that. I got the 21 jersey. It's my favorite number anyways, but what are your thoughts on Marek?
Well, I agree. He's the what everybody calls the X factor. He's the key piece to the whole puzzle, and that you're very well taken if you have a team that can really press you, and pressure the guards, and if the guards, can't handle the pressure so much, but he can come up and handle the ball and take the pressure away from the guards, or he can help, guard the big guys, or he can be the point forward or the point center, and does all the little, like you said, does all the little things, and that adds up when you take a charge, or you dive in a loose ball, or lose a tooth, things like this. These are all things that help a team, and it may not show, like you said, may not show up in the records, and everything like that in terms of points and everything. But he's the key guy that can make that extra play, and who gives the extra hustle, and that's the interesting thing is there's no crowd either, and he's doing this without a crowd.
Yeah.
He's diving and doing all that stuff, and there's and not that everybody dives just to get the crowd going, but that helps when like a crowd gets into it when you do that stuff. But he's doing it without it, so no, he's just been. He's the key guy. He's the key guy, and they may be a little bit thinner and not as tall as others, but they have to guard him too. So it's not like he has to guard them. They also have to guard him. So. No, he's been fabulous, and I hope I don't know. What's he got, another year if he comes back? Can he come back another year?
Yeah, everybo's essentially got a free year, so he can essentially have 5 years playing straight.
Go, yeah. Yeah. So no, that's he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's been great, and I think that for out not to load the question, hell. So who do you think besides Marek has been another catalyst in your opinion? Who sticks out to you on this year's team?
Well, obviously Buddy Boeheim. Jeez, I was saw him back in 7th grade, 8th grade, that kind of stuff, and at JD, and he's just gotten better and better, and obviously he's worked on his game. He's kind of like a NBA type person where you're backing, if you got a little guy on you, and he really has done very well with that, backing guys down into the lane and making shots. And obviously he's a great shooter. Obviously he's got great quickness in terms of stealing balls on the top of the zone. And no, he just impressed me in terms of his he didn't plateau. He's kept going, and now what's he got, another 2 more years?
Well, Buddy's a junior, so technically he can get 2 more with the free year.
Yeah, no, so he's to me, that's been very impressive. Yeah. And right now it seems like everybody's playing together, where at times this year it looked like you had 4 guys, kind of getting the ball and saying, okay, I'm going to go one-on-one, but now it seems everything's kind of flowing. So maybe, again, if you're not practicing every day because of the COVID situation, and you get out of whack in terms of rhythm and everything. And I think right now they obviously seem to be coming together, and hopefully yesterday's game will hopefully push them over the top here in terms of getting into the NCAA. But it'd be nice to get a win today.
Yeah, and do you think that they have to get it today? I mean, what gets them in the tournament, in your opinion? Have they done enough? Do they have to beat Virginia? Can they lose to Virginia close and still get in? How do you view it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually just reading the article with Coach Boeheim this morning. Not with him, but about his article or his interview with somebody about quadrant. I didn't, all these quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Not that they haven't had really any of these real tough games at home, I guess, which they count. Yeah. And so we haven't had that opportunity because we couldn't play the games. And it sounds like from this quadrant 2, 3, whatever, against those, still good teams, and we've obviously done very well. And I think, at least in the old days, they used to talk about, who's playing well at this time. Obviously, over the last 3 games, we're playing very well. And as opposed to teams losing 3 or 4 games down the stretch, here we're coming into this down the stretch and we're winning games, and so we're playing well. And it looks like to me, if you're watching them, you're saying, "Hey, this team's pretty good." Obviously, it would be nice to win. I think everybody says, "Well, maybe if you don't get blown out or you play close, that also helps, I suppose." But just from the eye test, if you're playing Virginia, close all the way down to the end of the game, and maybe not win, but you just never know. Actually, it's kind of gone our way the last few years, right? With getting in and not being supposed to get in, and so hopefully it comes through, because that would extend our year from my family and a Syracuse nation standpoint to extend the year a little longer.
Yeah, and I think, looking at this, one of the points that I took from what you were saying is, we played Clemson. Syracuse has played Clemson twice. And Clemson ended the season 10-6 in the ACC. Syracuse 9-7 in the ACC regular season. Syracuse has the same amount of wins as Clemson with 16. And Syracuse lost to Clemson by 17, then beat them by 10. Then Clemson loses to Miami. And I'm seeing some talking heads last night go, yeah, okay, well, Clemson lost, they lost to Syracuse. They lost to a Miami team that's 4-15 in the ACC in the regular season, 10-16 overall, but they're still in. And I'm going, okay, so they have the same amount of wins that Syracuse has. Syracuse beat them more recently, so they split with them. They just lost to a team with a 4-15 record in the conference. Syracuse has a 9-7 record in the conference, and they beat them. How are you so sure about Clemson? And then you got your arms up about Syracuse, who defeated North Carolina. And, it's one of those things where I'm looking at it, and I know that there's, we used to do the RPI, we used to do the strength of this, and now we do the quad 1 and the quad 2 and break it all down BS. But at the end of the day, and then they talk about the eye test, and this team looks really good to me through my bifocals. I'm looking at Syracuse right now saying they're 16-8. They don't have double-digit losses. They have now, including the ACC tournament, 10 wins inside of conference play. The ACC doesn't have any great teams this year. They have some pretty good teams, but anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Notre Dame has proven that. Miami's proven that. Different teams have shown that. So I look at this and say, based on what Syracuse has done up to this point, plus a win over Virginia, there's no question. But I look at them right now and say, how can you be so sure on Clemson and question Syracuse when you put those both up against each other? At the end of the day, I think Virginia is the thing. Syracuse is in control of their own destiny. You beat Virginia, there's nothing to be said. You don't beat Virginia, then we have to have all these conversations and all this quadrant and all this stuff that we have to go through and yada, yada, yada. But, for me, I really think that, Syracuse is in a place right now where they're arguably playing their best basketball. They beat a North Carolina team that blew out Duke. They came back and beat Clemson. They beat NC State by 21 points the third time you play them, which is extremely hard to do, to have arguably your best game against them. And now you have Virginia, who's been up and down and around the corner. They've had more good than bad, but they've also lost some games to teams that, like San Francisco and, different stuff that Virginia's done this year that hasn't made them look great. So I think Syracuse has to play their best game of the season today. But if they do, and they win, I think the committee has a very easy decision to make, and there will be no questions asked. If they lose and it's close, I think they could still try to squeak in. They might be a play-in game. But I think ultimately right now, Syracuse controls their destiny, and if they take care of business, they got nothing to worry about.
Agreed. Whatever you said, whatever you just said, yes. No, I mean, I think you should be the spokesman to for the Syracuse for the NCAA tournament committee. I mean, just get up there and no, I think that's what's going to happen. You obviously, obviously if you win, you're in, and I'm assuming, and then if you play well and you lose, then that becomes a question. Well, if you get blown out, then that's another problem. But I think this is the recency thing right now. So we had it like you said, probably the best game that we played yesterday, and now it's only one day later. So people are kind of looking at all this now, and maybe they had assumed that we weren't in before these last couple of games, and that we won. And now they got to take another look here and say, wait a minute, and Coach Boeheim is it's also very good. And that we won, and now they got to take another look here and see good sense. And just like you make pretty good sense of how could we not be in. But sometimes it gets, it doesn't go your way. But I think it's just like you said, it's in our hands. So let's just see what happens here, and then everybody's gonna have to sit down and take a look at it and figure things out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's with anything in life. If I can have my life in my hands as opposed to somebody else's, I'll keep it in mine. So that's what Syracuse needs to do. Before I let you go, I have to let you know, Hal, that my mother said hi because you're Carrie's brother that my mom works with. My mom has worked with. So she said, I hope Hal remembered me. So she just wanted to send you.
I remember. Very nice. She's very nice, and. My sister has enjoyed many years of good friendships out at the airport, and so it was interesting to find out that you guys were related. So
so she sends her love. But Hal, it's always great talking with you. I'm gonna steal you back onto the show during tournament time again if you'll have me. But I definitely appreciate it. I always have a good time with you. I love your energy, love your positivity, and with so many people that couldn't see their grandchildren and had to meet them over Zoom or go to the back door and kind of look through the window and stuff, you came up with this genius idea that I didn't even think about, which is, hey, why don't we just pick up and move there for the year? So this is our bubble, and that's so cool, and I'm sure that that created some great memories from you, some help for your daughter, and I'm so happy that you got to do it. So congratulations more than anything on your grandson, and God bless to you and the family.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it. I'll definitely be back for the NCAA tournament.
All right, sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
That coming from Hal Cohen. Once again, here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And Jimmy Lee is going to be coming up right after this fast break. So, our four... some people have a trio. We needed to have another. Some people have one or two. We just can't. I mean, listen, I am trying to pack in as many Syracuse basketball alumni as we can. We do it every single conference tournament week. Love everybody that we've had on the show. Appreciate them all. Andre Hawkins, Erich Santifer, Hal Cohen, and next up, to round things out, Mr. Jim Lee. Here inside the Cafe Kubal studios, this is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and Mr. Lee will be right up after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt is where you're listening. You're watching on Facebook Live on facebook.com/live-now-DT, as well as on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, all inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Make your way out to Cafe Kubal at any one of their locations. You can go and check them out at 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, and their newest location at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. With that being stated, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's poppin'. Tourney time talk happening all throughout today's show. Andre Hawkins, Erich Santifer, Hal Cohen, all been on the show, and we will round out the show with Mr. Jim Lee. Jim, I told you off the air that Hal said the best number 10 went first. What's your rebuttal?
Well, it's nice of him to think of me that way.
Mr. Jim Lee here with us this morning. We were talking about it off the air, and I want to make sure we got it on the air, how the NC State game, and as well as Syracuse played, this is going to be a totally different game. Your analysis that we had started to discuss was great, and I want to share that. So, bring me into what we were talking about and share with everybody here how what we saw versus NC State is obviously going to be very different with a very fundamentally sound, not that NC State doesn't have talent or not that their head coach Kevin Keatts isn't doing good things, but you were giving a great analysis, and I want to share that.
Well, no, it's first of all, Syracuse moved the ball very well yesterday. And it just seemed like a lot of times, which Virginia and their man-to-man defense is so much better than NC State's, and taking nothing away from NC State. But I can tell you today, they won't have that little guy from Virginia won't be covering Buddy Boeheim. They'll probably have one of those 6'5", 6'6" guys glued to them. And one thing I've noticed, which had happened a number of times yesterday, and even the game before, that when Syracuse had an offense and a shot goes up, some of these guys that are covering Buddy, they're just going to the glass and not worrying about boxing him out. But then when Syracuse gets the rebound, they just turn and look for him. He's very good at getting open. And now all of a sudden, he's already created space because the defender has gone to the boards, and you cannot leave him open. And I don't think that Virginia will do that. And I did notice yesterday, as soon as they brought that who's the guard from with the beard from that came off the bench for NC State? Starts with a B, I think, his last name.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was shifting to Virginia. So no, you're okay. No worries about that whatsoever. But
whenever he came in the game yesterday, the very first time he goes, he's only like 6'1", and Boeheim just took him right into the foul lane, and he gets a turnaround jumper. I mean, that's a big deal.
Oh, you're talking about Beverly, right? Beverly?
Yeah, that's the kid's name, yes. And I just don't know why they even have him on him at any point during the game. But I'm not the coach of NC State.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing, too. And my apologies on not getting to that right away. But, Beverly, Buddy Boeheim has like a half a foot above Braxton Beverly, and when they played inside of the dome, it was the same type of thing. It was like, okay, well, Beverly's 6 foot, you got Buddy out here like 6'6", doing his thing, doing what he wants to do. He can turn around and face him and go over him, and so of course Buddy's going to take advantage of it, and that shows that Buddy's obviously has the wherewithal and the basketball IQ to say, hey, you put this guy on me, I'm going to be able to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to take him where I want to take him. But now the real test is, and what I think you're getting at, Jim, is can Buddy do that when a guy's facing up with him eye to eye? And that's what it's going to be today. You're not going to have the benefit of having 6 inches on somebody. You're going to have somebody facing you up, looking right at you like a mirror, and Buddy's going to have to work his shot in and play inside and get after the basket. And the first shot made by Syracuse in this game against NC State was Buddy inside. And it was a great turnaround and off the glass, and he got it in. But now you have to do that against someone who is going to be giving you that height right back to you. The advantage is gone, and you have to find a way to still play your game. I think this is what takes the pretty good players from the, could be great players, is the transition of, well, I know that I can do this, that, and the other because I got the advantage, as opposed to now I just got to raw talent, eye to eye, beat this guy. This, if Buddy can put up 20 in this game, that's really going to say something about him.
Yeah, you just got to, he just has to probably play the game a little differently, keep moving on the outside, utilize some screens and get some open, because it only takes him a split second to get a jump shot open. Even if it's eye to eye, he only needs a split second. And I just know that Virginia, the way they play defense, they're just a little more aware of him for 40 minutes of the game, where yesterday they weren't aware of him.
Yeah, and I think that I want to stay with Buddy for a second because, you wrote the book 15 Feet for Free, and, you know how important it is, the mechanics of a shot and just what you need to do to, truly take care of what you can control in the game. When you watch Buddy play, what are your thoughts on his overall ability, not just his three-point shot? Because when it comes to him, when it comes to Jerry, when it comes to, Trevor Cooney, people get so fixated, Preston Shumpert, on the three. Andy Routins, they just focus on that. But there's more to the games of each of these players. What's your overall takeaway of Buddy and his mechanics first? And then secondly, how much are you done with, maybe you were done before it even started, because I was, the notion that Buddy's only on the court because his dad is the coach, which I can honestly tell you is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, knowing the fact that without Buddy Boeheim, I don't know, as I said earlier in the show, I don't know if this team wins 8 games this year. So what are your thoughts on his mechanics and his overall game? And then secondly, the thoughts on the notion that anywhere else he wouldn't be on the court.
No, I mean, he has great form, and you can tell he works at it, and it's, anybody that says he doesn't have good form is crazy. And he is smart enough, like we talked earlier, because basketball really is, when you create advantages, is a game of matchups. And he knows right off the bat when all of a sudden somebody, at being a 6'6", a guard, and he's got somebody smaller, he's going to get a good shot. That's, anytime within 15 feet, and he knows that. And when he's on the court, it opens up things for the other 4 players, because you cannot, normally, you've got to help out if somebody, let's say a Gary Air or a Griffin gets a beat on somebody. If Boeheim's man is the next person over, you're supposed to, your job is to help out. But in that situation, sometimes it's more important to stick with Boeheim. And if that's the case, now all of a sudden it opens things up a little more for the other 4 players, because they don't have to worry about help defenses as much when Buddy's in the area. And I think it's very evident that, whoever says that he shouldn't be playing because his dad's the coach, I mean, he's earned it. And without him, you're right, they probably wouldn't be where they're at, because even when he's not scoring, he is out there and he is opening up and creating space for his 4 teammates. And it's the same with even Gerard. With the 2 of them are in there together, you've got to stay on those 2, because if they're open, they're going to make jump shots.
Yeah.
So that just makes it easier for the other 3 guys just to get over there. They can all go to the basket, and he's a very good player. And I didn't realize. I just read the article in the paper today that he wasn't even on any of the ACC teams, first, second, third, or honorable mention. But then I did read that because somebody at SU didn't nominate him, and I know that feeling all too well. Because I remember, my senior year when all of a sudden Rudy was going to all these all-star games after the NCAA tournament, and finally I went to Coach Steve. He goes, Jim, Coach, how come I didn't get it? He goes, I played as good as anybody in the country. He goes, Jim, our SID never nominated you for anything. It's like, well, I thought, what do you have to be nominated? Shouldn't it be on how you play?
Yeah.
So I know all too well, the poor guy, because he should be. And he's the 6th leading scorer in the ACC.
Yeah.
And teams do key on him. So, I don't know. That's, I know there's a lot of politics involved in that stuff too. So,
yeah.
Believe that.
Well, and that's just stupidity. I mean, to be honest, that's just stupidity. For when it came to you, when it comes to Buddy, it's just, if you don't know your own team, what are you doing in your job? So, it's Buddy has more than shown himself. He got recruited to Gonzaga. I brought this up before. And Mark Few. And when Mark Few sees something in you, I give credit to Jim Boeheim for what he's done over the years. And I also give credit to coaches around the country, the Tom Izzos, the Mark Fews, the Coach K's, the Roy Williams. There's a lot of guys that know what they see. And, the Dean Smiths of the world. And, they know what's out there. And Mark Few's one of those guys where I thought to myself, okay, so if Buddy got recruited to Gonzaga and Boeheim wasn't coaching at Syracuse and Buddy didn't grow up around the program his whole life, then it would make sense for him to go out to Gonzaga, arguably, and I think he would have been successful out there. His games would have been at 1 o'clock in the morning over here, but Gonzaga would have developed him too. And so, I think that there's a lot to be said about what he's doing. And, we don't talk about this enough, so I want to kind of throw this at you, Jim. But Adrian Autry, Alan Griffin, Jerry McNamara, it's not all Jim Boeheim. They are teaching these players and growing these players as well. Adrian told me years ago that his every intent is to be a head coach. And, Jerry, what he's done with Buddy Boeheim, Alan had success at Dayton before he came over here. What are your thoughts on Syracuse's current coaching staff?
No, I think it's a perfect setup because you got all SU guys, and I think that you got to understand the school, and that's why Boeheim's been here for so long, and the other guys. He's got 3 good guys. I know them all, and I consider them all my friends, and I like them. They're just real good people, and a lot of these guys chase the big money in other places and bigger schools, but cities. But Syracuse is the cost of living here is great, and so you don't need as much as far as the top dollar to be here. And that's what people see a big number, but then all of a sudden they'll go to a bigger city and where the cost of living is a lot higher. And when you net it all out, it comes about the same as it is here. So it's all relative. But yeah, those 3 guys, they've done a great job. And you mentioned Mark Pugh. I never saw Buddy play in high school.
Yeah.
But I do know when Mark Pugh offered him a scholarship, I remember talking to my brother and said, he's got to be good if Mark Pugh went after him. And if you notice, Coach Boeheim was he wasn't offering him a scholarship yet or nothing, but as soon as Mark Pugh offered him a scholarship, I think it was within a week, Syracuse offered him a scholarship.
Yeah.
And I think Boeheim did this because he always downplayed his son, so I think he did it for a reason, knowing that, he didn't want many people coming after him, but when Mark Pugh offered him the scholarship, I think that's when all of a sudden Bam said, all right, I've got to get my son right now.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing too is, let Buddy show himself. If he gets an offer from Syracuse, then the mentality could be, okay, well, this is where he's going, and why even recruit him? I think in a way, and I don't mean to speak for Jim, from my point of view as an analysis of it, I would think if I was Buddy's dad, I would want Buddy to have the experience, to prove it himself, to pave his own way. And so if he gets these offers without me offering him, then it shows, okay, that's really based on his merit. He didn't get it from me. He's having his own road because he deserves to have it. He doesn't need to live in my shadow. He needs to be himself. And I think that what people should have realized that have any type of intelligence in this world, and I don't mean to be mean about it, I just think there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions. And as Roosevelt Bowie said yesterday, opinions are like buttholes. We all have them, but you don't go around showing them to everybody. So I would say if you watch Buddy right now and you just forget his last name, he's one of the best shooters Syracuse has ever had. And he's he didn't get 1,000 points in his career. He got 1,000 points in 3 seasons, not even 3 full seasons. So, I think what Buddy does is he passes you want to talk about the eye test. When I watch him play, he attacks the basket, he goes after it, he plays inside and outside. He doesn't just rely on his 3-point shot. He will go in, he'll fight in the paint, he'll do things in transition. There are different things that he brings to the game besides just his 3-point shot, which is what I look to when someone's a good 3-point shooter, is do they do more? And then beyond that, I just look at his overall game and say to myself, if he wasn't Jim's son, would I still think that he's worthy of being out on the court as one of the 5 guys? And the answer is yes. So looking at Buddy strictly as Buddy on the talent he is, again, if I was his father, I would have let him go through his recruitment, seen what offers he got, know that he'll probably come to me and play here, but let him have his life. And if that's what Jim did, then I commend Jim for that, because your children deserve the opportunity to pave their own way and never live in your shadow. And I think Buddy's offer from Gonzaga, that's all I needed to hear. When I heard that, it was like, okay, well, obviously if Mark Few and Jim Boeheim think that there's something here, then I'm good with it. And if Jim did it that way, then I can appreciate that.
It's a good analogy.
So that coming here from Jim Lee. Jim, before I let you go, looking at this year's team, who sticks out to you the most as the catalyst? I know we talked about Buddy, but besides Buddy, is it Marek in your opinion? I mean, is this, the outright leader? If you were on the team right now, who would you be looking to essentially for leadership in your opinion? If you were a true freshman, you just came onto the team, who on this team are you looking to right now for some vision on where to go from here?
I've always been a fan of Marek Dolej's. I mean, I just love the way he plays. And I know I read when he was playing for his junior team in Slovakia, he was the point guard, and you can tell how he handles the ball. It's just too bad that the kid couldn't have played. I mean, he's probably played the center position more than he's played the forward position. It's too bad, but he'll do whatever is asked of him, and he's always he's always smiling, and just like Boeheim, and you can tell like the kids all really like each other. You can tell that, and but I really liked him, and it would have been nice if he could have played the forward position for 4 years, because he does get beat up a lot. There's a big size advantage on some of these teams, which he's got to clog up the middle, and he gets beat up a lot. But I mean, I love the way that kid plays, and overall, I mean, they've got a really good team. I think it's just that they've been a little inconsistent at times, and that's. And I think the ACC is probably a little better than people are giving them credit for this year. I mean, Duke and Carolina are both playing a lot better than they were earlier in the year. And I think Georgia Tech's a sleeper. I mean, Duke kind of manhandled Louisville last night. And, but as far as I think all of them look to each other. And but if you're asking me, I do love the way that Dolej plays, and never says a word, just comes to play, and so he is one of my. I just enjoy the way he plays, and I would have I like playing with kids like that. Not that I can run around or walk half the time, but.
Well, I think if I put you on a free throw line, you'd make a few of them, Jim. I think I'm pretty comfortable with that.
You never know. I'm not so sure anymore.
I think you're all right. I don't think you lose that. You just got to grease the wheel a little bit. But once that wheel is greased, I think you're out there doing your thing. That coming from Jim Lee here in our community of Central and Upstate New York, Syracuse Orange men's basketball alum. Jim, I always love your thoughts. I always love everything you have. I know you got some stuff going on this morning you got to get ready for. So I will bid you adieu for now, but I would love to have you back during this tournament time. I love your analysis and the way that you know this game, I respect it and I appreciate it. So I know that you're a humble guy and I know that you might laugh it off, but I want you to know truly I don't say things I don't mean. And when it comes to you, I really do have a great respect for you and, what you've done on and off the court. You're one of the people that's, allowed me, to your house to sit and just talk, and those things mean a lot to me. So I need to return that favor. And, in the meantime, I just want to say thank you for what you bring to the game, even after playing the game, and the amount of respect that I have for that.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure being on, Dan.
All right. Well, I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right. Let's hope we're talking again and Syracuse is in it tomorrow. How's that?
Sounds good to me. Take care,
right.
Jim.
Take care. Thanks.
See you. That coming from Jim Lee once again, and very proud to have him on the broadcast as always. We got to bring you 4 voices from Syracuse Orange men's basketball history today inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. And listen, there's no better way to talk about sports and to watch sports than to have that kettle corn sit next to you. Go to Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com and use my promo code anywhere in the country. You could be here in the community or anywhere in this nation. Use the promo code DT20, Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com, and get 20% off. That's DT20 at checkout, DT20. And you can use it for in-store pickup or delivery. So if you're here in the community and you're going there anyways, go to maandpazpopcorn.com, use the promo code DT20, get your 20% off, go pick up your kettle corn, be ready for the game today. You got an hour, so you're on the clock. I want to thank Andre Hawkins, Erich Santifer, Hal Cohen, and Jim Lee for joining the show today. I want to thank Eugene Waldron, Roosevelt Bowie Jr., as well as Dale Shackelford for joining this week. And coming up this Friday, I'm ecstatic. I'm very excited. TGIF, the Annoying Moment of the Week at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, brought to you by Carvel DeWitt. Lead with Juanita Ward, Learn, Evolve, Adlib, and Deliver, brought to you by Chick-fil-A Cicero at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The top dog of the week is announced at 10 a.m. Eastern Time from Canine Camp, Dog Daycare, and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the two best places for short and long-term care, respectively, for your furry-loving friend. After all of that, after that trio of goodness, we have these last two fingers here, we have two guests coming on the show. I told you at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, my man Wally Pops is joining the show, John Wallace. But right after him at 11 o'clock, as Wake Up Call will get extended tomorrow, guess who's joining the show? Otis Motherfreaking Hill. So, John Wallace, Otis Hill, together again on Wake Up Call. We got the exclusive, and they'll be with you on TGIF. So, that's why you wait and listen all the way through to the end of the show, so you get that information before anybody else. I appreciate you. I thank you for tuning in. Find Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and of course on WakeUpCallDT.com, our website that has everything on it. Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Podbean, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. The shows this week have already been added there. There's going to be more added there this morning before the game. So make sure you go there and check it out by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on all of these beautiful outlets. And, of course, a big thanks to Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Avocolis, where you can use the promo code AVS10 for 10% off your online orders at myavocolis.com. Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Millhouse Market, and MonPazPopcorn.com. Get your popcorn ready by going there and using the promo code DT20 for 20% off. To our Central and Upstate New York partners, thank you. And now more than ever, folks, helping these businesses is extremely important, extremely valuable to the sustaining of our community and the growth and progression. So go out here, get your coffee, get your sandwich, go look at a car, drop your dog off, get some popcorn, everything and anything. Get some ice cream at these wonderful places today. It goes such a long way, and you'll never know how much you're helping somebody. And doing a good deed, paying it forward is something we should all learn from this past year. With that being stated, find us on social media at Wake Up Call DT on Facebook. Of course, I'll be covering the game in real time on Twitter, so find me on there at Call DT for Syracuse, Virginia, and beyond that. And I'll have the great opportunity of being able to speak with coaches and players, and I'll be airing my stuff with Miami and North Carolina. I got to talk with Jim Larinaga and Roy Williams and company, and that'll all be going up on our social media today, all those video interviews. Shout out to the SIDs and the athletic departments for being amazing and giving me the opportunity to ask questions. It is something that is truly something that I value that maybe I overlooked over the years, and I appreciate it so much. So shout out to those that are doing a tremendous job to try and make sure we all have a voice. Big shout out to Miami, big shout out to North Carolina, to Notre Dame. Thank you to all of you, to Duke, for giving me an opportunity in this ACC tournament. Appreciate it, and I thank you, and God bless. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. And as always, I always give you this. God bless, no stress, do your best. And I want to read you something that I put up on Facebook. I want to read this to you because I think it's important for me to read it and for you to read it. So here it is. I really, really want you to take a moment with this and think about this before I let you go. And that statement is as follows. I also put it up on Twitter too, so you can check it out there. But I wanted to let you know this because I think we all need to see this. when things stand in our path, we question God as to why they're there. Why is evil prospering? I can promise you that evil does not prosper. It may look like it's in the lead, but God has never lost a race. And God isn't going to make today the day that that happens. Have a great day, folks. I'll talk with you soon. G-Mama, Pop Miller, Pop Cavino, Papa, Bill, Jay, Dustin, Rob, Gammy, Mordu and Cinnamon and Shady. I love you and I miss you all. May we remember who we have had in our lives that are now up in heaven. Remember the blessings we have in our life now. And may we always appreciate the time that we've got with those that we have it with, including the time that we have with ourselves. Have a great day. God bless you and be good to each other. I'll talk to you soon.